Shalom, salam alaikum, kif halik, kaifakum, shlonik, merhaba, konnichiwa, ni hao, namaste, privyet, bonjour, buongiorno, saludos, hola, dag, haj, barev, yak shimash, je suis Ali. My name is Alix, and I don't come to you all today as a fund manager or an electronic dance music DJ, but as a victim of pervasive, insidious, and nefarious familial abuse and violence. I pride myself, or try, in being one who lives the life of authenticity on and off social media. And I want to first apologize for not doing so. This year has been the worst of my life. And as someone who is willing to talk about my lupus, my immunoglobulin deficiencies, my traumas, rapes, whatever it might be, this is one subject matter I was not even fully aware of for the first several months of fleeing an abusive situation, one I've been in my whole life. And I'm sure many of you by now thinking familial dysfunction, what does that mean? And who did this? And by this, I mean, Alix, why is it 10 months later you're still not DJing? Well, my belongings have been withheld from me. Alix, where are your dogs? Those two have been withheld from me. When I fled with sweatpants, tennis shoes, sneakers, the t-shirt, and flew into snow. Thank God for the ability to learn how to code money, so you're never put into a position where someone can continuously steal it or make you feel obligated to give it. And shout out to the tech community for very much saving my life and essence, because API code is so important. And if ever a case for Bitcoin were to be made, me fleeing violence, abuse, and a pervasive, insidious situation is it. And now I know many of you are even more confused, but I did decide to pull some clips and metadata I've extracted. However, I do want to warn you, this is just a bit of a preview, and YouTube and Instagram flagged other clips that I wanted to play, being I've been told to kill myself more times than I can count, death, psychological, emotional, mental, physical violence. And I ask everyone to remove implicit bias. In the era of Me Too and abusers and abuse, we oftentimes are now seeing what looks to be a likely person who is a victim is actually the one who is an abuser. And in my case, that is so. What we see on social media is not what it seems. And if I'd known this was not normal rhetoric, then I would have come forth sooner. However, a lot of therapy, if you will, and trying to fight this notion of someone not just wanting to prove they don't love me, but very much with action wishing death and harm upon me by withholding life-sustaining medication, my money, my emotional support animals. As someone who's suicidal, who struggles with suicidal ideation, the ability to advocate and speak, not just for myself, but for people who may be going through something similar. I cannot think that I am the only person who did not know I was a victim. But when you are raised in a dysfunctional household where parents are constantly at one another, and you have my mother's sister, for example, whose nephew sexually assaulted me with the intent to rape, in my ear, making me think that both of my parents are inadequate parents, very much confused in my formative years. And one thing I realized is obedience doesn't determine an outcome, and no matter how much good you do for someone, a cycle of abuse and narcissism exists. And it's unfortunate in this case. It is my own mother. Complicit with a sister and her sister who told her that I didn't have endometriosis, which I very much did and had to have surgery, and I'm afraid I do again. My health is at its worst, and I'm not sure why my life, my work has been withheld for almost 10 months now. For all of you who thought I've just been living my best life, in many ways, it's been very cathartic and healing, thanks to so much therapy, psychotherapy, etc., to see this type of rhetoric is not normal and to go further, but to learn boundaries are something that do exist. And things like having water dumped on my DJ equipment by my sister without my ability to contact police, without fear of harm from my mother, nude photos, videos leaked by her without me being able to do anything about it, having my safe broken into and money stolen by my own mother, then thinking I'm protecting my own mother. I was brainwashed, and I'd argue I've been brainwashed since I was a child. I was never my own entity. I was never my own soul. I was always an extension, and one that was trained very young that performance-based attention and love matters. I didn't know what love meant until I fled you all. And I'll say this, I am no angel. I want to make this perfectly clear. I'm no angel at all. Thank God for Jesus, because as someone who believes in God, of course I'm not an angel. I'm not perfect. I'm sure I have sassed off. I've done awful things just in life, as we all have. However, I ask you all to please be as respectful to the people in which I'm speaking of. I wish no harm. I forgive them. In fact, I pray for them, because hurt people, and the generational trauma stops with me. So let's go to January. How awful was it that I found love and knew love was not contingent, only to then miscarry from the trauma, stress, and lack of medication consistency from them withholding. Nothing is more painful to go through than a miscarriage in a different state without your original doctor. And I shall continue using my likeness and image on merchandise with egregious statements towards myself for public Snapchat view. I don't know why someone would do that, yet it is. And within this whole time frame, harassment, stalking, and the inability to live. So I come back to the original state and try to ascertain belongings and file what's called a protection from abuse order. I believe these are public record, but we will not be going through this for the sake of time and trauma. Nonetheless, mine was granted. I was too afraid to even go back to obtain my belongings without protection, because I am was that afraid. I am no longer afraid. It is a beautiful feeling. I don't have to ever acquiesce again. Nonetheless, 10 months, I am in turmoil. I've had to go without medication. I have lump under my arm, and on depend if ne sent esprit pour moi. Let's hope that it's just infection going on week 2, so I don't have to get it biopsied. They canceled my insurance, not just once, but twice. I found out on my birthday from my estranged sister my insurance was being canceled, and I didn't cancel it, pretending to be me and canceling my insurance. As someone who can show proof that my Walgreens prescription drug costs alone, I think I just spit, I'm sorry, are about $37,000 to $38,000, is prolific. And to know this was done in spite and is mind-blowing. And to be able to rationalize the irrational. It's just not something any of us are capable of. But I do want to say this to any of you who have experienced familial, what you think is dysfunction, because society just talks about dysfunction versus violence and abuse. If this video just gets to one person, that's fine. I realized one of the few things holding me back was, what are people going to think? Who cares? I'm going to die one day, whether it be because of this, which very much could be the case. My mental health has been awful. Again, I've struggled with suicidal ideation. I've not had my emotional support animals. And I stockpiled my medication for mental health for a recession, depression. And it's all been withheld from me. Why would you want to withhold life-sustaining medication from me? My lupus medication, I've had to go without. I've gone without other medications and antibiotics. I too stockpiled for my immunoglobulin deficiency, meaning when I get an infection due to an IgG level, you all have natural immunity to fight. I don't. So in this time of turmoil, especially the past few months, I have been sicker than sick, trying to simply live. And my mind and neurocog as a COVID long hauler definitely does not help. I'm so gracious for the physicians and the care I've received in this time. But I love you all, and I can't live a lie. If I die today, to know that I would die and not be fully known is just not something I want to live with. And I love you all, and I love you all so much where I want to say I'm going to be as vulnerable as possible. I don't give a damn what any others' opinions, thoughts, or feelings are. I just want to say, if you are going through something similar, you're not alone. Implicit bias affects everything. And just because someone looks like they might be a victim does not mean that they are, and vice versa. Gender, age, don't have a place in trying to assess abuse. And if anything, we should really advocate for that to better our society. And for someone who's done a lot of self-advocacy, nothing's been more freeing than to learn what I don't want to teach my future children, if I'm even able to have them. I don't know. And I'm unafraid to die, to live to Christ, to die is gain. But what should we expect from just this simple video? Blogs, that's already happened to me before, as many of you know. And all the other things mentioned. So don't be shocked. Don't be, what's the word? I don't even know a word to use, because I cannot even believe I'm making this video. I said I would never do this. This is something I would never, ever, ever do. I'm going to do one take and that's it. But here I am, because this is not even for my glory, but if I can just get to one person who can say, oh my gosh, there's somebody that's actually dealt with family where they've been scapegoated and they've had to deal with more than most, and that's all they've known. Therefore, obedience from faith to family didn't determine their outcome, meaning my outcome might not be determined by my obedience, but if they can survive versus suicide out, then that would have given me some sort of hope. And another thing I've realized is I look at the suicide rate and people that are cohabitating with generational disparities or whatnot, and suicide rate's number one, and this is the highest amount of people living with people with generational age gaps. And I have to wonder if my story is not the only one, because I feel like it belongs in a Hulu Netflix docuseries. But I ask all of you to be polite, be respectful. If ever a need to protest, do so peacefully. And non dependifis and dissentus prepomok, please pray, push, pray until something happens. And I keep spitting, and I'm sorry, but 10 months without my belongings and medication I've stockpiled for, at what point do people accept the fact that I have people that want me dead or want me in the most miserable state of life? They have successfully done so. I need help out of it, but I love you all so much, more so than even talking about this. I want all of you to do well and know that you are never alone at all. My DMs are always open. God bless you. You all are the reason I'm probably breathing right now. And I just wanted to end with this clip because I found it interesting as someone who will not give me my belongings.
Why don't we go in there and get on your little, whatever it is, iPad, and let's tell them how famous you really aren't. Well, I think statistics could show famous is not popularity. Not popular, you're not popular, and you're not rich, and you're not famous. Okay, well,
So, I've never declared to be anything other than myself. And I've never asked for fame. I've always said fortune is better. But that type of manipulative behavior is normal to me. And like I said, anything else is flagged. And I wish I could emote, but I'm so numb and inundated to making something I never thought I would. I love you all. God bless. And I will maybe do a follow-up. I'll happily answer questions. I feel comfortable doing so.